Okay. Well, thanks everybody for joining. This is our first SCC meeting of 24-25 for Emerson Elementary. If you could all take a minute and introduce yourselves in the chat, your name and how you're affiliated with Emerson, that would be great. I sent out last month May's minutes that Emily was kind enough to go back out and record for us. So they looked great to me. So if we could get a motion to approve the minutes and a second. By anybody? Maybe can I motion to approve, and can I get a second?
I'll motion.
Thank you.
I can second, Lucy.
Thank you. Okay, and then we do have one addition to the agenda, and that is Ms. Zoe, who I'm not sure if she's on yet, but she asked to give a brief presentation on House Bill 58. So maybe we'll move that to the bottom so that we can get the election stuff out of the way before that. So why don't we start with reports, just to keep our usual agenda. So April, you're up.
Hey, so our back to school night, I thought was really successful. We had PTA cooking hot dogs and introducing people to each other. And so it was an opportunity for our new community members to mingle and get to know some folks and some things about Emerson. We do have a fair number of kids who are new to our building, even though our enrollment's down about 90 kids from last year. We have some new students who are new to our building, so it's been kind of a rebuild that way for sure. And that was a nice opening activity for that. We had our first evacuation drill of the year, so we have to conduct one of those before September 3rd each year. So we got on the intercom, talked to kids about that we were practicing evacuating the building and went through that process. So it's a guided activity, so kids learn how to evacuate, given that they're in a new classroom than they were in last year, and all those things. And it went really well. This is kind of a boring thing, but we did have a capital walkthrough with our auxiliary services director, and that's an opportunity for them to take a look at our building, inside and outside of our building, and what maintenance things need to be done, or repairs and things like that. So we're going to, a big emphasis was on how we can keep folks off the roof. So that's continued to be an issue. And with our solar panels and stuff, it's a very expensive problem if kids get up there, or young adults, it looks like, and are trying to damage our solar panels and things like that. So that seems to be like a yearly conversation, but we are continuing to work on that and do some other things around our building. We had a garden open house for teachers last Friday, so teachers could go out and meet with Melissa Brink and Jan and our garden committee folks about how they can use the garden as part of their instruction, and as an outdoor classroom. So that was nice. And then some teachers couldn't make it on Friday, so Melissa presented in our faculty meeting about that. On that last Saturday, we went down to the Sprout store on 7th East and received a $10,000 check from the Sprouting Gardens Committee, or whatever it is. They have different grants. Ours was under the school garden piece, and it's enough money that we can rebuild all 22 of our beds. So we've been working on trying to fund that. So the original beds are, I think, 12 years old or 13 years old. They're starting to rot out. So we've got this funding. Then all the folks who did that. So David Jones wrote the grant. He's a volunteer. And so just so many of our volunteers do so much for our garden. So it's a really nice thing at Emerson, and not all schools have gardens. If you go and look at their community gardens, lots of them are full of weeds and overgrown, and so maintaining them is quite an endeavor. And this has been something that's been in place since before I got here, so maybe 12 or 13 years ago. And Jana Ward, who was one of the original parents who wanted to build a garden here, came to that, and it was fun to see her. And just we had several families there. Eduardo the Eagle showed up there, and we got our check and shared with Sprouts kind of what we do with our school garden. So that was a nice thing. Tomorrow and Friday, we're having our Playworks Recess Revive. So Coach Jolly's going to come in and look at our recesses, teach kids some procedures, and train our recess duty staff so that we have those playwork structures in place that are really important for our inclusive and safe recesses. So we're looking forward to that. That's kind of an annual thing we do. And then we have Move and Groove on Friday. So the kids will be out having a dance party on Friday. And that's our PTA fundraiser. So you've probably seen some things on Parent Square about that. So we're looking forward to that as well. And those are the things I had on my list. Do you have any questions?
So April, you're not having a problem with students on the roof, is that right? It's after hours, no ne'er-do-wells?
Or like Friday afternoon, I'm sitting here going,
Oh,
like somebody might be on the roof. We have cameras up there, so I can turn on the camera and see, but, and we know kind of where they're getting on and where they're getting off. But it looks like high school age kids, and then, you know, for example, there was a couch up there. And so somehow they got a couch up on the roof. And so Simona is always checking it, but the design of our buildings made it really challenging to keep kids off. And so I don't know if they're considering some fencing. I know they got away from that because they thought it looked too much like a prison or something to have that up there. But at least it's high enough that they really can't get up there unless they were to cut it down, or I don't know if they want to spend that much energy on it, but they are continuing to do that. But so it's not necessarily our kids, it's, you know, junior high, high school kids, and then people from the neighborhood or whatever. It's interesting, and it's hard to catch them too, even if you get a picture of them, unless you catch them coming off the roof and you take a picture of their their license plate or something. It's just an ongoing challenge.
yeah. And then did they have other items in mind for improvements inside and outside?
So things like our north west parking lot, which has been dug up and recovered twice. It's been kind of patched together, and there's some kind of water that gathers down the bottom that needs to be kind of redone. There's a French drain out there that does not work well. So if there's a lot of rainfall or whatever, Simona is out there squeegeeing and getting water off to prevent it from coming in the building, like in room 24 and down the hallways. So things like that. When I looked at the landscaping in the back by the new ADA ramp, so that's all kind of dug up still. So that was put on the list. Those things like that. And then they'll do a separate walkthrough, a security walkthrough the next little while to kind of look at the security of buildings and all that. So Emerson will have that as well. That's a separate walkthrough.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, SIC, is that you, Jen?
That is me. We have not met yet as a committee. We will be meeting next Monday. So I don't have anything to report there, but I did want to tag team up after April. I know we are still looking for one more para position. So if you're dying to come work at the school, we have a little spot for you in a really great kindergarten classroom. Almost the best one, second best, we'll call it. And then I will add too, I noticed today when I was leaving, the faculty parking, they finally removed kind of all that vine that had been growing on the fence back there. If you don't come that way, you wouldn't notice it, but I had pointed out to Simona that over the summer it had grown and completely covered that fence. So you couldn't see if cars were coming or going, as well as if students or someone was in the parking lot right there. So I did notice today that grounds had cleared that off, which I was finally happy to see that that's now a little bit safer to cross back there. So I think that's it for SIC for this month.
Easy breezy. Thank you. Okay, PTA report. Is that you again, April?
It might be unless some parents were there, but let me grab my folder. Okay, so PTA talked about the eaglet. So we have a kind of a different format for creating it, but the first eaglet went out, so they had a plan for that, which was amazing, and it kind of went pretty fast this time. So we got a timeline for when we have to have things submitted for the October eaglet. That looks like the eaglet has survived, and so that's exciting news. They approved the PTA board, which we talked about last year, and talked about the proposed budget also. And things that people wanted to put on that. So they just kind of had a conversation about it. They didn't add things, but things like the garden, carnival, the library, movie night, and childcare, if they can provide that during meetings. So they're pondering how to make that work. And a lot of this is dependent on how well their fundraiser goes this year. And then they started kind of moving through PTA events, starting with Move and Groove, the book fair, fall SEP meals for teachers, etc. And we're looking for volunteers for that, or people to kind of lead those activities or kind of start those conversations. It looked like they are not planning on doing reflections this year. And then we also talked about doing a kid contest for a t-shirt design that the PTA would have for sale, and just some other things that as they went through the list. So it wasn't a lot of in-depth conversation besides those things that are happening in the next month or two, but kind of an overview of the year and looking for volunteers. I think that's it.
So Reflections, isn't that like a state PTA program? They're just not participating.
It's a PTA sponsored thing. You can choose to do it or not, but they felt like it wasn't viable this year. So I don't know if it's because of not having a volunteer to run it or what. So it's not a mandatory thing, but it is something that's a PTA sponsored activity for kids.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions or comments about any of those reports? All right. Moving right along then. Okay, first agenda item I have from April, review meeting schedule for the year.
I am not prepared with that. So we usually meet the second Wednesday of the month, and during our conferences, I think it's February that it interferes with. No, maybe not. I think we're okay. So the second, or the second Wednesday of the month is our scheduled meeting time. So I will send out a list of that. I gave it to teachers, but not a separate one for us. Let me see. It seemed like there was one that was a conflict because of the holiday, and it's January. Yeah, so the 8th of January, the SCC meeting and the PTA meeting kind of overlap each other. So just give you some warning about that, because PTA usually meets on the first Wednesday of the month, and we're not able to that first week in January. The kids are still on winter break. But other than that, that's when we will meet. So let me make a copy of that and send it out to you, Jill.
Okay.
And I guess we want to continue with the Zoom format. People still like that.
Well, I mean, we're not getting great attendance on Zoom, and I don't know if it would be any better in person, so.
Okay. There was some discussion before about doing a kind of a hybrid meeting. We could also just go back to in-person meetings. I don't know how the council members feel about that. We
I mean, my
also
term is,
Yeah.
my term's up now, so,
Mhm.
I love seeing people in person, but I wonder if for people with busy schedules, it's a little bit less practical, but maybe we could sneak some in-person ones in case people want to do that.
Yes,
I know.
as long as there's some Zoom available, I can still attend, but if there's in person, just having a special needs kid at home, I can't unless, and I'm also charging, moving children around the city, so at this time.
yeah. I think that you all used to do like the first and last meeting in person, or something along those lines, just so people would have a chance to meet face to face, and maybe if it was in person, there still could be a Zoom option.
We
Sorry,
have to figure out how to do
it's
that.
mute. I was gonna say I would be in favor of in-person meetings or a hybrid meeting.
Yeah.
I like that idea of the first and the last.
And I could definitely do it if it wasn't on Wednesdays or Fridays. That's when my wife is in the office, so she definitely can't pick up kids or couple kids around during those days. So
Are you thinking about this because of attendance in particular, or just throwing it out there for feedback? Because I think that maybe the time of our meetings are a tad early sometimes. I know PTA is 6:30, which
Mhm.
also ideal, but you know, there's really no great time in a weeknight evening, but some are maybe better than others.
True, I've had to Zoom from the car sometimes if I'm running late at work.
Yeah, right. So I don't know if maybe like 6 o'clock would help improve attendance, but
Mhm. Well, we always throw it out there. I think we started doing meetings on Zoom during COVID. Before that, because of our magnet program and kids from all around the district being here, we used to hold meetings at the Glendale Library, and the Marmalade Library. We kind of switch off in Emerson, so we kind of have that rotating schedule, which I don't know that it's necessary now, but then we switched over to Zoom, and I think people felt like it was actually increasing the attendance of the meetings. But we throw it out there every year in terms of how we want to do it, and I think considering the time changes there, you know, like parents may need a little more time to be able to join. So yeah, PTA is at 6:30. We could move it to 6 and just put that on the schedule if people would prefer that. And I don't know, Amy would have to help us do a hybrid meeting. I'm not quite sure how to pull that off, but I know it can be done. So,
I would vote for 6 p.m. and then choosing some, like, I do like the first and the last, like maybe 1 to 2 meetings a year to do in person, just so we see each other face to face. That's what I would vote for instead of everyone being hybrid, because that would encourage like maybe once a year you try to come in person.
okay, and Tessa, you had a comment you'd prefer to do in person for all the meetings?
Hey folks, sorry. So I am in the car because I worked a little late. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I like in person, but I think at least having some in person, I think is great just in terms of like having a cohesive group and actually knowing each other. And then the later I think is pretty huge.
Okay. And
I
Amy,
would
would it be
maybe-
challenging to do a hybrid meeting? You are a technology guru.
I mean, I can facilitate the hybrid, but I can't be on site. I just struggle because Wednesdays and Fridays are the days that I'm literally single parenting with 4 kids and traveling back and forth between Centerville. So
Mm.
I'm open to whatever.
Could we just call you?
Oh,
just
absolutely.
set
I don't
you
need to be on video.
in the middle of the.
Yeah. I work remotely. I don't leave the house most of the time other than to shuffle kids. So I'm totally fine with just being on the phone. So don't make plans around me, please. Don't do that. But I'd love to be in person too. So if there were some in-person meetings that I was able to meet that weren't on Wednesdays and Fridays, I could absolutely make that happen more often than not.
Maybe we should put in the chat like what everyone votes for, either all hybrid, like mostly Zoom with a few in person. Yeah, put a vote in the chat.
And Melanie says, consider that our special
Mhm.
class families are pulled across the east side and it might make it difficult for them to get to Emerson. And I do think we're gonna turn over our membership. And I want to make sure that those people are getting to say what works for them. So I don't know if we can make a decision on this tonight, but yeah, I like putting your thoughts in the chat, and it sounds like moving a little later is kind of universally appealing.
And then I kind of put Amy on the spot with the hybrid thing, but the technology piece, would that be easy to do? Like if we had a meeting in the library, or how would that even work?
I think so, since there's a laptop in there, we could just use that and turn it around, and I'm not sure the sound would always be that great, but we could do that.
Okay. Maybe hybrid's the best way to meet everybody's needs. Once you show me how to do it, if I get into the swing of it, I'll be okay. This takes me a repetition or two, as you
Or-
know.
Do we know if we're set on like Wednesday nights? I guess that would be the big question for me. Because if we're not set on that, then all bets are off for me. Like I can meet almost anytime. Wednesday and Fridays, like I said, are the hard days for me.
Well, we've historically had them on Wednesdays. It's kind of part of our chair governance process, and Wednesdays are kind of reserved for those kinds of
Sure.
activities. But if we do a hybrid option, and you can join via Zoom, it would work for you, and then also work for Tessa, who would prefer it in person. So it sounds like that hybrid piece may be the best way to meet everybody's needs with that.
That works for me, either way.
Okay. We do
I'm
just
happy
want to
to
make
be
it
on the phone.
inclusive, yeah, so we can have as many people participate as possible. So
Absolutely.
our special class families and like 6, okay. Does 6 p.m. work for most people?
I'd
Mhm.
even push for 7 because I could actually be in person on 7 p.m. meetings,
Hmm.
but 6 p.m. on the phone would work for me as well.
So April, is this something we want to try and vote on tonight?
At least in terms of what we're gonna do next time we meet,
Okay.
or that when we propose it, so when we send out an invite for parents to join, we kind of give them an idea, this is what our meetings are, and this will be kind of our format, so I would prefer to do it, vote on it tonight, just for that reason.
So could I propose 6 p.m. next month? I know that's not as late as Chris could do, but we could set him in the middle of the table on a phone at minimum. And then should we try for a hybrid next month?
Sure.
Okay.
And Melanie, do you think that'll be adequate for our families that are kind of spread out across the east side?
I think if we give them that option to attend in online and in person at that time, I think that's a fair settlement. In my opinion.
Okay.
Right. Okay, is that something we need to vote on, April?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, and this is, or we're gonna try and move forward with this plan for the year.
I think so, unless somebody wants to propose something different after we get the council in place.
Okay.
I just want people to know what they're gonna be, we're kind of set so they can see if they can even do it or not. So if it's, on Wednesday, the second Wednesday of the month at 6, hybrid, and we'll put it out there so they can make that decision.
Okay. So if you're a voting member, I guess if you could put your vote in the chat, that we would we would keep it on the second Wednesday of the month, move it to 6 p.m. and move it to a hybrid model. Okay. Okay, so it looks like that motion passes.
Okay.
Okay, are we good to move on then to actually discuss the open seats? April, last year, Nicole pointed out that we have more members than is required. And so I pulled up, these are our guidelines on the website, and it does say Emerson SCC consists of 12 parent members and at least 4 school employee members, including the principal and a representative of the SIC. The legal requirement, I looked on the school board, the Board of Education website, and it's 4 parents, a principal, and 1 school employee. So I wasn't sure if that 12 member was a deliberate decision for some reason, or if we wanted to simplify things.
Yeah, my understanding when this was put together was to include some representatives from our different programs here. And then we had 6 that were in their first year and 6 in their second. So it's kind of this rotating thing of 6 members to make a total of 12. We've not always been able to get 12 people.
Yeah.
And so I think it also just to be more parents or rather than teachers, than teacher representatives, of course. But I know that in other schools, if their councils are much smaller than this, so I think we can change that part in our, is that on our website? Or somebody wrote that up?
So this is our rules of order and procedure. So, and I think that's great to have representation from all the programs and all the grades. And I think the rule is you need 2 more parents than staff members. So,
I mean, even if we change the language to a maximum of 12 members or whatever, something, but it doesn't have to be 12
Yeah.
council members.
I think it has to be 4, and I think you're right. I think they have to, that needs to be staggered. And it's 2 years a term, and there's no term limits. So, here's our current roster.
Jill, can I clarify? Is that
Absolutely.
voting members?
Yeah, I think, yeah. So anybody
like
can
we could
come at any time.
potentially, so like if, because I think we have what, maybe 5 teachers here, 6, I'm not sure. So those teachers don't all necessarily have to be voting members.
Yeah, anybody can come at any time.
I mean, we can kind of play around with that to get
Yeah.
the parent number met, because that seems to be the not the priority, but that's maybe a harder number to hit with parents than it is with staff.
Yeah, and there just has to be 2 extra parents, I guess. In high school is even worse, but
and we've also just asked for some teacher representation to provide their input. So things that, the school, how it impacts the teachers, and so.
And I read, I think, you know, you're encouraged to have a lower grade teacher and an upper grade teacher, SIC representative, principal. So that's 4 teachers. We would need at least 6 parents for that.
What do we currently have? I know I'm one of the parents, but
Right. So our current, I don't know if you can see my screen, but I have the current roster up, and we do have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 13 parents.
okay.
Some folks I haven't seen on the calls.
And so if we can,
I think it's one of those blank, Jill, the 4th one
yeah,
down.
one of them is blank.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, one of them is blank.
And
So
then
that's
I
12
have
parents.
some, yeah, that are.
Some of them are IP parents. So Jennifer
we know we're
Rosenthal, they
gone.
moved to Nibley.
Yeah, Angela moved.
So Angela left kind of in March last year.
Yep.
Scott Heineck didn't come to meetings last year. I don't know if he maybe attended the first one. So I'm gonna remove him. Susan
So
Rich
if
went
I don't
to
think
Nibley.
Susan, I don't think she attended last year.
She kind of did off and on, and her child's at Nibley Park, so she's
Okay.
she did the Eaglet, and she's involved with that, the PTA.
Okay.
I think
So
Angela Grunwald, her child went to Nibley as well, so we have several people on here that are no longer going to be able to serve.
okay. So based on this current roster, going into their 2nd year of their term is Gabi, Sierra, Chris. So that would be 3 parents. And then finishing their term, but they could start a 2nd term. Lucy. Do we have Lindsay on here? Or
yeah, Hazelwood, Lindsay Hazelwood.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she would be finished.
So these folks are finished up, so they wouldn't be eligible. Well, they wouldn't
Well,
continue on. They could rerun.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
know that the succession plan has been for Lucy to take over the chair from Angela.
I think I was a late add-in, so I think
So have you done two years?
I can't remember whether it's been a year and a half or 2.5.
I think a year and a half, and you came on to replace somebody who left, I think.
Yeah, I know it was a mid-year.
Yeah.
Position.
Mhm.
Maybe it's just a year and a half. Yeah.
So can Lucy serve a second year?
If,
If I-
so if she could actually run, she could say, I'd be interested in running again, and we can add her and she'd start anew in her first year type of a thing. Or we could keep her on as her second. If she's not fulfilled 2 years, I do know she came on as a fill-in for someone who couldn't finish their term.
I know of at least one more parent in Theo's class that might be interested in joining too.
And I had a parent email me that they would maybe be interested. I think they're Hawthorne family that's now in our school. So we want to send out an invitation and let them inform me by date if they were interested in serving. And then see how many people are interested.
So
And
if Lucy,
Sorry. I know that
Mm.
Tommy he's usually with me, but he's not here now, but I know that he's just kind of too busy to keep serving, so
Yeah.
he would probably drop off too.
okay,
Yeah, and I think that person was at the end of their second year anyway. So yeah, so
Mhm.
Tommy, Leah, her daughter's at Slarts. Lindsay's in her second year, and Jennifer. So these folks are kind of going off the council.
Yep.
And then
So
I don't know if Emily Booth wants to continue. Her one daughter's at Nibley, one daughter's at Emerson. But she was in her second year too, so that she would go off too. Okay.
And
So-
Tessa, is Tessa here too? Because are you unofficially? And but didn't Tessa want to be last year, and then there wasn't a space for her?
So
That
Tessa,
is
you're
correct.
interested?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay.
I'm game, if there's
And-
room.
If you can give me your last name again, I know your face
Oh.
and your first name, but
Sure, Hanson.
Hanson, yes. Okay,
So April, if Lucy does a second year, then we are really seeking 2 people to reach that 6. Is that right? Or are we just taking as many parents as?
well, I think we have to invite everyone who's interested to apply.
Mhm.
And then if we get more people than we have seats for, then we have to have an election.
But how many seats are we trying to fill? Are we trying to fill the 6 or are we trying to fill 12?
We have 3 that are gonna go into their second year, so if we want a total of 6, like 3 in their second year and 3 in their first, we could do that. Right now, our bylaws are saying that we could have 12. So we probably need to adjust that before we decide how many we can take.
I worry about is there like a certain number that need to be present every week for votes and things, because 6 seems
Mhm.
light. And so
Yeah, but
I
I think it's like 2/3 or something.
just think there's not much.
Yeah.
I don't know, I wouldn't mind the higher.
It's so
There's always attrition and things come up.
yeah. No, I totally agree. So we need 2/3 to pass a vote.
And I'm always available. So if I don't show up on a meeting, it's my ADHD. Always feel free to call me or ping me. Like it's just I space it. So
So I think that we could change those bylaws and say up to 12 members, or we could decide if we want to do, make it more of a change in that, but I think there have been times when we did not have a quorum.
Right.
And so that is a very good point there. We want to do, like, we could have up to 12 and then see how many people volunteer or want to serve.
That'd be my vote, especially if that's worked for you all in the past.
I would agree.
And we have had years where we've had fewer than 12. Just because we didn't have that interest. And one year we had to have an election. So it sort of just depends, but mostly we have a just right spot with volunteers, or we're a little under.
I guess the question I would ask, is there any downside to having 12 versus 6, other than attaining a quorum?
Yeah, because I think if you have 12, then you always need 8 people showing up, which
You need more. Okay. Okay.
so which we haven't always had.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, and I'll just add, like the conversation kind of came up at the end of the year, I think, because we were trying to like get things signed and make sure everything was like, and when I pulled up the list, we had more than I think we had said what was required. It was something like that. I think that's how it came about, that the discussion. Do you remember, Jill, if that was different that way?
I think you did need like physical signatures, and then we had to get 12 people to come to the office, which is quite a bit harder than getting 6 people to come. Yeah.
Now is the first time we've had to get physical signatures in forever. So electronic signatures have always been what we've done, and for some reason, Dr. Taylor required us to get physical signatures last year, so that was a pain. But usually we just sign off. When I send out an email, and you get one about I'm on the SCC and I'm aware of the land trust plan or whatever, we've been able to do that. But last year, for some reason, they were making people go into school and do physical signatures. And I don't know if I think there was some discussion about that among principals. For some folks, it didn't work very well. And so I'm not quite sure what the purpose of it was. It was a change for sure from our usual way to get signatures.
Yeah. Okay, so we have 3 folks, it sounds confirmed, because they're going to the second year of their term. Gabi, Sierra, and Chris. It sounds like Lucy's interested in a second term.
Yeah, or we can, I don't know if she hasn't fulfilled 2 years worth, if she comes on as this would be her second year coming up.
Right, because I only did like 2 or 3 months my first year.
Yeah, so that would be 4 people in their second year.
Yep.
If people are comfortable with that. But I know she's not done a full 2 years.
Right. Okay, and so that's 4, and then so we'd like to get at least 2 more, it sounds like, and then.
So that would be 4 second year folks, and then we would hope to get 4 first year folks too. So then we have a rotation coming.
Right,
through.
okay. So that sounds like a
even-
plan. So you have a few names, and then I assume you also send it out to everybody. Okay.
And I have to look at the bylaws too. If you would email me those, I have them somewhere, but just so I know, there's
Sure.
you have to send it out so many days before and all this stuff, so. just have to
Yeah,
look at-
I just got it from the website, but I can.
Oh, I'll get it from the website, yeah. I'll get it. I can't remember it all off the top of my head. And then we'll figure out our teacher representatives to match, or whatever, based on our parent quorum.
Okay, so that is the plan, and you're gonna move forward with that.
Mhm.
Okay. So then we need a chair, vice chair, and secretary. I don't know if we can pull those from this group, or we wait for our full quorum.
I had given the information to the district that Lucy was in that role. And so
Yep.
I don't know if with that still, I know we did elections last spring for that. And I don't know that a vice chair was elected, but I do know that Lucy was elected as the chair.
I can do that this year.
Thank you.
Do we want to wait till we get our new folks to decide on the vice chair and secretary?
Does anybody is anybody interested in this group? I guess it would be Gabi, Chris, or Sierra.
I don't feel like I have the bandwidth to throw my name for my responsibility at this point. So.
Same for me. I can show up sometimes, but these are also nights where I'm parenting alone, so I'm not.
Okay, well,
we can our new folks one.
I can take the minutes for this month and then from the recording, and then we can go from there. Okay, anything else regarding membership, scheduling, council, business? Okay, I think I saw Ms. Zoe joined. Yep, and I think we just have time for her presentation, so.
Perfect. Is there a way to make me a co-host so I could share my screen? I remember how to do that.
Yeah, let's see. Make host. Okay, you good?
Yes. Okay, share screen. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm Zoe. I'm the school counselor here. I think I know most of you all, but I am excited to share. I get to send in a report about the pro-social and good decision-making programs that we have here at Emerson. So it's part of the House Bill 58, which ends up being the electronic cigarettes in school, if anyone was interested in that. So it was a bill written in 2020 and then signed by Governor Herbert, but it says that we'll have a positive behavior plan to address the student use of tobacco, alcohol, electronic cigarette products, and promoting positive behavior. So they want me to tell you that 1, it's the law, and 2, we need to document that we are doing all these positive things to promote good decision-making and promote positive relationships. So the intention behind this is to show all of you what awesome things we are doing at Emerson. And as I talk about the things, I think my request is if you can think of anything to add to the report, so maybe any positive activities that maybe your kids have done over the years that might add to making good decisions and positive, self-esteem and that kind of thing. So any feedback is welcome, and this is what I have in my report. But again, if you think of anything, I made a note, like maybe I should add all the cool stuff we do in the garden, because I think we do some amazing things out there. So here we go. First thing on the list is our zones of regulation. So I have 2 pictures, a lot of classes. So this is a program that kids kind of understand how they're feeling and can communicate those feelings through 4 different zones. And over the past few years, I've gone in and taught about this. So I think they have a pretty good idea of sad is blue zone, green is ready to learn, yellow is maybe nervous or excited, and red would be like the big emotions of like anger. Maybe you're really, really excited, but a lot of the classes have like 4 cups that the kids will put their name in. So it's just a good way to check in. And then the other picture is kind of some of the posters that we have up. I use the second step social emotional learning program here. So that kind of goes into 4. I do a lot in kindergarten, and the bullying prevention lessons I do with all grades. So I think I have a picture of it, but this is what I teach every single kid in our school, which is how to recognize bullying, how to report it, and then how to refuse or say you don't like something, or going with a friend to go report something. So hopefully the kids know that recognizing bullying is something that is on purpose to hurt someone's body or feelings, and it happens more than once. And that's kind of what hopefully they take away from my lessons. But for quite a while we have access to Inner Explorer, so teachers can log in, and it's a kind of self-guided, and I believe we still have for it in English and Spanish, but I think maybe they don't use the Spanish version as much anymore now that we lost our program. But I have the little shark fin there because the kids can like do breathing exercises and have some neat techniques on breathing and being mindful of how they're feeling in the moment. And I think they really like it. Last year we implemented amygdala reset kits or calm down kits. So teachers had access to these kind of bins, and they had all sorts of things like drawing. We kind of tried to hit all 5 senses. So they had a lot of fidget things that I think kids know that if they just need to kind of take a little break, they have that option. And then we also, on top of that, through our broadcasts, teach about kind of the connection between the amygdala and like our prefrontal cortex. So we do the hand model and how like when these aren't communicating, you can flip your lid, and that's when you can have some big emotions. So that was a big thing last year. And then we have the individual counseling that I provide, and then we have an amazing social worker who's available. So usually kids will kind of go through me, and if I feel like they need some deeper or more in-depth counseling, Teresa will help me out with that. And one, I think, let's see here, positive adult. So something that was added last year was just the fact that we have a lot of adult support at our school who can help kids and kind of be another positive force in their school life. So we added that because I think that is really important, and lots of kids benefit from that. We also do class meetings and circles. So at the beginning of each day, kids sit in a circle, and there's just a check-in question that I think helps kind of build connection and just kind of embrace that community of belonging in each of the classrooms. And then Playworks is a big part of our school. As April mentioned, we will have Coach Jolly, I think, come and look at our school and see how well we're following the Playworks model. I've seen a lot of great things with it. Part of it is there's just an overall structure of how recess is set up. And then we have a game of the week that the kids know is going to be showcased each week. So I think some kids really like the idea of running out to recess, knowing there's going to be an organized game. And I really like Playworks. I think it's cool. And then this is kind of some other amazing programs. And again, if you have just in general our PBIS or MTSS, which is multi-tiered system of support, I believe, or positive behavior intervention system. So we have kind of that umbrella going on, and then Girls on the Run is a spring program that helps kind of build self-esteem. I go around and talk to, I guess, 3rd through 6th grade about the Safe UT app and give them information on how to access that. And it's run through the University of Utah and primarily, I think, set up for suicide prevention, but they do a lot of connecting people for grieving, any sort of life changes, depression, anxiety. So cool resource. 5th grade, we've got the Botvan life skills. So that is specifically talking about drug and alcohol prevention. Our 6th grade does a really awesome community service project. I'm not sure what they're going to do this year, but I know the kids really enjoy being kind of linked to the bigger community. And then I was going to ask about PTA, and I'm assuming art night, move and groove, the movie nights, Day of the Dead, STEM night, any other ones are we continuing doing the same cool programs? So I will make sure those are still included. Acceptance week celebration. So each week or each month we highlight a different culture. And so I think October, I want to say is Hispanic Heritage Month, but that's through our PBIS. And we send out kind of a resource guide to all the teachers who day by day there's a different theme and with videos and lessons if they want. And hopefully that's just easy to kind of weave into what they're doing or what they have planned. I have a picture of the Playworks. That is something that Cassie, our office para, helps out with, but I think 4th through 6th grade get to go out to recess with the younger kids and kind of be a junior coach and help them play and run games for them. I have a picture also of I think that's a student of the quarter, but we highlight kids every week and have a word of the week. And then we do a student of the quarter and do like a big assembly and they get little trophies. It's kind of fun. And then our Golden Eagle tickets, which are kind of all the time, and we do a drawing at the end. And then Meet Club is teachers get a ticket every week and highlight someone who's respectful, responsible, and safe. So that was my long list of amazing things we do here. And if anything else comes up or you think of something I should add, I submit the report in the fall and then I do it again in the spring to say if we did all these things or not. So that's HB 58.
Thank you. I can confirm that my kid feels like he has a bunch of different adults he can go to when he's having a hard time, maybe a little too comfortable, but it's awesome. I really
That's really awesome to
appreciate all
hear.
that. Yeah. Okay. I just realized we probably need to vote on Lucy's chairpersonship. So if you're a voting member, I motion to make Lucy the chair moving forward. If you could put your vote in the chat, please. Okay, that is the end of our agenda, right at 6:30. Does anybody else have anything else they want to talk about? Okie dokie. Well, that's great. We'll see you. Let me just see. I think it's
October 9th, I think,
October 9th up at 6.
at 6, or so hybrid, so Zoom or in person.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Jill.
much.
Thanks.
Thanks for being chair, Jill.